Okay.
Okay. All right. We look like we're live. We'll just give it a few moments before we start. Okay. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Youth Mental Health Awareness Show, where we have open conversations with the youth about mental health. I'm KATINDA, your host today, KATINDA NDOLA, the author of The Big Comeback, founder of the Confidence and Self-Esteem Academy, and one of GYMHA's special board advisors. In today's show, we are so blessed to be in the presence of three amazing panelists. And our first panelist is Edith Wanyonyi. Edith is a counseling psychologist, GYMHA's advocacy manager and ambassador. Welcome and hello, Edith.
Thank you very much, Tina.
Thank you. And our second guest is Kamusiime Azaria. He is the co-founder at Care Promotion and Poverty Alleviation Initiative, CPAI, and he's also a GYMHA ambassador. Hello and welcome to the show, Kamusiime. Okay, and we'll have a third guest. We have Marianne. Oh, yes. Hello, Marianne. Welcome to the show too. You can unmute yourselves. I can't hear. Marianne, I can't hear you. Can't hear you at all.
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
Yeah, Marianne, check your. Yep, now I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the show too.
Thank you.
Okay, now in our conversation today, our guests will give us some insights on how to protect your mental health when it comes to work and school. But before we do that, I always love to ask, how are we feeling today? Kamusiime, how are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling so great, relaxed, and ready to take it up. So I'm feeling so fine.
Welcome. Edith, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling grateful this afternoon. It's a bright afternoon here in Kenya, so I'm so grateful to be here today and just to share about mental health, because mental health is a necessity right now in our lives. It's
Thank you.
a priority.
Thank you. I see we've got Dr. Yeah, sorry, we've got a lot of echo. Just when you're not speaking, please just mute yourself to avoid so much interference, because I think there's a lot of interference in the background somewhere. Yeah, it's okay. We've lost Dr. Onochie again. It's disappeared. And Marianne, how are we feeling today?
Yeah, good. It's been a very productive day, so I feel blessed and happy to be here talking about very important topics like mental health. Yeah.
Thank you. So Dr. Onochie, if you can hear me, we're just talking about how we're feeling today. So if you'd like to tell us how you're feeling today. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening there. All right, so it looks like today's topic is something that we're all affected by, because it's obviously mental health and work and school, which is what is our daily lives. So what is the importance of mental health in the workplace and school? Edith, do you want to start the conversation?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So when we speak about mental health, we are talking about the well-being of a person. So a person is able to cope with the stresses of life. They are able to engage in community and also to take responsibilities. Like the responsibilities of their daily lives doesn't interfere with their mental health. So mental health is very important in our lives, and it's not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So you could have a disease or infirmity, but you have good mental health, and also the vice versa is also true. It doesn't mean that when you have a mental illness, you don't have good mental health. So it's very important to talk about mental health in our workplace and in our schools. It's that when we have good mental health, we are able to have empathy. So we are able to understand other people better. And also we are able to have good cognitive and social skills. Mental health helps us reach our full potential. So we are able to be productive in our workplaces and in our environment.
Thank you. Marianne, what would you like to add to
Yeah,
that?
so mental health is very important in our.
Thank you, Edith. Marianne,
Yeah.
what would you like to
Yes.
add to that?
Yep. So, like Edith said, I think the most important, concept to remember when talking about mental health in schools and in workplaces is that mental health is vital and very important for performance. So, if we don't have, I guess, an adequate level of mental health functioning, our performance is definitely going to be affected and impacted negatively. And a lot of people, unfortunately, might be performance reviewed at work, or they might not even be turning up to work or at school. They might not attend school. And there's always a lot of questions about behavior, but little do we look into people's mental health and realize what's going on for them. And I think that will help answer a lot of questions. And address a lot of areas if we can consider this, and maybe even try and, I guess, implement things at work and in schools that will help, people optimize their mental health and therefore perform better.
Thank you. Thank you. Lawrence, if you can hear me, what would you like to add to that? What's the importance of mental health in the workplace and school? Okay. Lawrence, can you hear me at all? Okay, so we'll just move on. So what are some of the school-related risk factors for mental health? Edith. Hello, Edith, can you hear me? Okay. Marianne, do you want to go with the questions? Because I don't know whether Edith can hear me.
Yeah, so some of the school-related risk factors for mental health, and I think things like social, I guess, concepts like bullying, social exclusion, isolation, and things like that are also largely impacted these days by social media. I think this is kind of emerging in the school realm more often these days, as well as, I believe, a lack of flexibility in assessment methods. So, for example, if someone has mental health concerns or at risk, it's important for, I guess, the well-being team to know about what their concerns are. And what's going on for them. But not only that, but take it a step further and also make sure they implement enough strategies to help the students target what's happening and what's going on for them, and also give them extra consideration or special consideration, such as, extra time, different methods of delivery when it comes to assessments and things like that, to allow the student to still perform rather than being impacted by risks, such as mental health problems and anxiety. Anxiety is a big one these days. So I feel like a lot of students are going to the sick bay reporting physical symptoms, but it's actually anxiety behind it all.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us back, Kamusiime. Now, we're just asking the question, what are some of the school-related risk factors for mental health? Would you like to give us some insight?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Just to add on what Maryam said, one risk factor is academic and exam stress that I can point out. So many times we have lost young students just because of exams, stress. This can be due to the past experience. that pressure, especially when you're going to do things like the national examinations. So many times the academic stress, it comes up and hits them up, and so many times we see how adult people struggle to cope up with mental health challenges. And so what about these young students? And maybe another thing I can point out is the fear for the future, to face the future. Maybe you are studying at the university, you are just thinking, how am I going to start a new life of where I don't know if I'm going to get a job, how I'm going to live for the next 30 years. So these are some of the things that bring stress to us, and I believe that mental health remains paramount if we can address it at an early stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lawrence, for joining us again.
Thank you.
So, Lawrence, what are some of the school-related risk factors for mental health? Would you like to give us some insight on that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's quite a privilege to be in this program. Every time we talked about mental health, we look at it from various aspects, knowing fully well that the mental health has to do with how you feel, how you think. Sometimes people end up having anxieties, depression, and the rest of that. But if you talk about some of the risks that are affected, that are involved when it comes to mental health in school, you talk about the lack of connection. You could see in some cases some students who perhaps find it very difficult to cope up in classes. The reason being is that they are being depressed, perhaps maybe from the issues from home, and they have not been able to get it off their mind, and it keeps on, it consistently affecting the way they connect in class, even the way they connect with their fellow schoolmates. As a result, you will find out that the rate of their performance wouldn't be that much appreciative, because they in their mind, they are not settled. In their mind, they believe that something is wrong with them, but they don't know how to get out of that which is wrong, which is happening to them. So it brings about the risk of lack of connection. When you are connected mentally, you are stable. And when the lack of connection mentally is not there, you will discover it becomes a mission impossible to be focused, even to be dedicated, even to be committed. Sometimes people might think such students perhaps might not be serious, but that couldn't be the case. The case is that the person is sick mentally. Something is bothering the person. Something has disconnected this person from being connected. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I see here we've got a viewer, Matthew Gobwer. He says, one of the things that causes stress leading to mental health disorder among youth in schools and at workplaces is dealing with difficult bosses. How can workers and students deal with difficult bosses? Who wants to answer that question?
I think you can answer that question.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. First of all, to deal with a difficult boss, you first of all have to understand what are his demands. Sometimes some boss in working places, perhaps the demands which they often ask their employees find it stressful. So you have to understand what are the demands of such boss. If the demands are way beyond your capacity in terms of performance, there is a need to have a negotiation or reconciliation of idea. That is to say, you balance in a scale, you get your boss, you get him to understand this is the extent or the capacity to which you can deliver. This is the extent to which you cannot deliver. However, if there is an understanding, I believe there would be reduction. So the most times is the demand. So when the demand from the boss are higher than what the employees can deliver in terms of an input, it becomes stressful for the employees. And especially when you have a boss that has to give you a quick deadline, a multiple tasks. So you have to, first of all, study to understand what are the demands. When you know the demands, you have to balance yourself in a scale to see the ability you have and what you need in able to match up. If it's something you cannot match up with, then there is there is a need for a renegotiation with the boss. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to add anything to that?
I'd just like to add just the importance of assertive communication. A lot can be done, if we're assertive, and it's so common to have difficult bosses and, people who might be micromanaging us at work, or teachers who don't listen, or teachers who are not considerate. I think it's very important for us to speak up, and maybe even know more about what channels to go to in order to talk to someone about what's happening. Otherwise, if we don't do something, nothing will change. So it's important to sort of be brave, not just be passive communicators, but be assertive, explain how this is maybe, leading us to struggle. And we can also access, if you're working, things like EAP, so employee assistant programs, where we can talk to sort of someone and get advice without the organization or the boss knowing that we've done that. So it's purely confidential, and it's an amazing thing that most workplaces now have. It's called EAP. So if you can access that, no one, like the organization, will never know who called. They just get, EAP accessed once, and they won't get a record of who did that. So it doesn't matter anyway, because this is like a highly confidential discussion, and at least that way you can record that this is causing you stress, or this is causing you, a struggle at work, and that's one step towards doing something about it.
Thank you. Now, that EAP obviously is something that happens in Australia, so I'm not sure how that would work in other parts of the world, considering Edith, you're from Kenya, and Lawrence, I'm not sure what country, but how would it be over there? What is it that the bosses, what kind of communication channel could workers who
that's
work
a
for a
great
boss is
point.
difficult? How would they deal with that? Because then maybe they don't have a body they can actually have that kind of confidential conversation with.
And I think the next step would be just trying to be kind of aware of who in the company might be that person you can confide in, if any. Otherwise, even having that discussion assertively with the boss or a different boss might be helpful. But discussing it with others is very important. Otherwise, if we keep it inside, there's more of a tendency to implode and then go on, not be able to perform. And then you're going to be questioned about your performance rather than their performance, like how they're managing you, kind of thing.
Right. Lawrence, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, different country with different system, and different system determines the different approach. For example, over here in the Gambia, you hardly have such system wherein you have a standardized system wherein you have to complain or put your voice across. Mostly over here, it has to be, you dealing directly with the issue with your boss and getting it sorted out by yourself. And most of the challenges that people do encounter here is when they try to talk to someone else, and sometimes it may lead to misconception, because the person they talk to may end up bringing it to the table of the boss, and then the boss will be thinking like, okay, this person is talking behind me, this person is kind of taking advantage, or releasing confidential information which other person shouldn't get. So that's why I say, in being assertive in certain level, you just have to, have the courage, first of all, understand your boss in the context of the Gambia, for example, or most of the African countries. Understand your boss, and also understand the demands, because most of this aggression comes from demands. When you understand what the demands are, then you need to put yourself in a scale. Is it what I can do? Is it what I cannot do? then you're able to come up with, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do. Then you come out with a renegotiation. This is how we can do this, because this is really affecting me. I have seen so many situations wherein people cannot cope up with their work tasks because it becomes so excessive. When they get home, they find themselves doing nothing. See, so that means that they continue from work duty back home. So they don't even have life for themselves.
Thank you. Thank you. Edith, did you want to add something to that?
In your mind.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say that they can, the employers can change the company culture such that they can create a culture of understanding and
Edith, I don't think we
open
can hear
around
you.
mental health, so people can be freely about mental health judged or.
Edith, your connection, I think, is not very good. We can't hear you very well. Okay. So moving forward, how can we promote
Can you
mental
hear me
health
now?
and well-being in schools? Yes, we can now. There was a lot of interference before. Marianne, did you want to tackle that? How can we promote mental health and well-being in schools?
Yeah. So yeah, like I think different countries will have different, I guess, capabilities in place, and different systems. So what we do here in Australia is we try to have a social worker or a counsellor in each school, and then that way, if students are being like, having any difficulties, they can talk to their well-being person. And that's very helpful because then they can get special consideration if they're having any problems at home, or outside school. I think another high risk thing that we didn't really touch on in schools, in many places around the world, is self harm as well. That's a very kind of recurring thing that a lot of young people struggle with. And if there's someone at school that's in charge of well-being, it's very good that they can kind of check in with the students, um, who are known to engage in these behaviors. They can sort of help them by giving them strategies, and by talking them through what's healthy and unhealthy behavior to cope when it comes to coping. Um, yeah, and another thing I think a lot of schools will benefit from is, um, I guess, having something like a well-being place, like a hub, or like a little bit of a room where anyone can just go to if they're not feeling great, or if they just want to listen to music or do some coloring or something. We have that in some schools here, and it's very successful because then if you're not feeling well, you don't have to go to the counselor. You could just go to that place, listen to music, do some drawing, and just have some mindfulness time. Encouraging mindfulness practices like that is very important, I guess, in a lot of, like in most places, because it helps students kind of unwind, calm down, find their safe space, and then go back to class.
Thank you. Thank you. Lawrence, what would you like to add to that? How can we promote mental health and well-being in schools?
Well, I would begin to say that creating facilities that wherein when students are having anxiety or depression, wherein sometimes they have somebody, a counselor who they have to speak to, and even to a greater extent, someone that can be able to find out, how to resolve the issue which they have. I can give you, for example, a scenario that happened, I think, last 2 months in Nigeria, also, if I'm correct. It was a news. It was a student in a primary school who came to school. He was a little bit sick, and the teacher asked him to provide his assignment, and he tried to explain the situation to the teacher that he was sick. That was why he was unable to do the assignment. And you can't even imagine that the teacher had to flog the student to an extent that the child, collapsed, and that led to the death of such child. So you see, if, for example, there were, provisions for a facility or counselors or places where students can go when they are mentally challenged or when they have issues beyond the classroom, who they can talk to and who can advise them, of course, the issue of depression in school would greatly reduce, especially here in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Edith, how can we promote mental health and well-being in schools? Okay. Edith? Edith, can you hear me? Okay, I'm not sure if Edith can hear me. So what are some of the workplace-related risk factors for mental health? Edith, okay. I'm sure. Edith, can you hear me at all? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can now. Okay, well, it looks like we're having a lot of technical issues today. So we've got here, Zekpo Happiness, Idikari says, in dealing with difficult bosses, you can as well be careful not to do things that will offend them. Try to do your best in everything some bosses try to pick offense in every little thing you do. Don't take it as anything. You can try to change that boss by always smiling no matter the harsh words spoken to you. Learn not to take offense because would only add fuel to the fire. Thank you. Yes, that's a good one. Now, as we continue, Marianne, did you want to tackle this one? Because I think we're losing everybody.
Yeah, I just think that's a beautiful, very strong way to tackle it. It's called beating them with kindness. You beat them with kindness, and that really works. It works all the time. As long as this is not putting additional pressure on you, yep, do it. Like that's the best thing to do. But as long as you're not kind of really pressuring yourself when you're doing that, then that's okay, and it will work.
Yeah. So moving forward, what are some of the workplace-related risk factors for mental health? Edith, if you can hear me, do you want to give us some insight on that?
Can you hear me?
You're very faint. Increase your volume, maybe.
What about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, so some of the work-related factors that can affect the mental health of a person is like inadequate health and safety policies in the workplace. So when the employees feel that they are not safe, maybe there is poor sanitation or the equipment are hazardous, that mental, or maybe just when they are used, it's responsible. So that could be one of the risk factors, poor communication and management practices. So employees will feel that there's a strained relationship in case communication is poor. Then there's also low levels of support for employees. So in case an employee feels that they are doing work without being directed, that could affect their mental health. Yeah, also there is a performance pressure.
Okay, we're losing you, Edith.
That is pressure hours also will increase.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're disappearing. We didn't hear the last sentence. Okay, we'll just keep moving. We see here we've got another comment by Zekpo again.
Okay, I'm saying, okay, there's also job insecurity.
Okay.
When there is job insecurity, so there is fear for not being able to. Yeah, when there's job insecurity, fear for not being able
Okay.
to take care of themselves and even fight for their families or places, and also bullying and psychological harassment at the workplace. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So we've got another comment from Zekpo here. She says, providing counselors and schools that would be able to advise students who are facing emotional traumas would be a good strategy to employ at schools. Thank you very much. Now, just getting back to that question, what are some of the workplace-related risk factors for mental health? Marianne, do you want to give us some insight?
Yeah, I think similar to what Edith was saying about performance pressure, we call it burnout as well. So we have a lot of people who might reach burnout in workplaces because they simply can't meet the demands. So it's very important that, you know, workplaces actually scanning, and bosses and leaders in leadership, people in leadership are actually making sure that employees are not too stressed to the point of burnout, because what will happen is that they'll end up leaving, of trying to find a better job or a different job. So yeah, it's really important for us to, I guess, make sure that our workload is not too much when it comes to how much we're expecting them to do, to avoid risks such as burnout. And I'm not sure if this is a thing in Africa and other countries, but I know in Australia and America, they have something called stress leave. So there are some days, it's like your sick leave. You know, I can take, say, if I have 5 days in a year where I can take sick leave, a couple of them can be stress leave. But there's a stigma associated with that label. I wish there was a better name. So things like well-being leave, or, you know, things like that, or maybe like 1 day a year where we just give it paid to people to have a day off, things like that. I know not a lot of countries can afford to do that, but this stuff would really make the employees feel like they belong to a family rather than just a number between 1,000 other people, you know.
Yeah, I think a name like Self-Love Day would be a good one because that's what it is. It's a day to
I
just,
love that. That's great.
yeah, self-love. That's what I do when I unplug. I call it a Self-Love Day, and it's just what it is. Yeah. So what about Lawrence? What would you like to add to that? What are some of the workplace-related risk factors for mental health?
Okay. First of all, we must understand that people, employees, are not robots. They are human beings, and they are bound to have emotions, feelings, passion, and the rest of that. So when someone have finally ended up having emotional crisis, that means that it will result to deperformance. Okay, and that also leads to demotivation. When the risk when employees stands the risk of having a mental challenge, they would be unable to deliver as how expected from them. So the first risk we look at here is the risk of not having a good performance. Okay, and that also can lead, because they have already have the emotional crisis, emotional disruption, because they don't feel the way they ought to feel about their job. They sometimes they're not happy in doing their job, and you can agree with me that people often do not do their job because of how much they got paid. People sometimes do the job because they have some feelings attached to their job. So you can imagine when the feelings is disconnected, and when they are no longer having such feelings, then they're going to be having some issues with the job, because they would think that they are in the wrong place. But that's not a question. It's not been about the wrong place, but it's been that the environment itself now is no longer favorable. So the risk can lead to losing high performing employees. The more depressed they are, the less motivation they have. And the less motivation they have, the less interest they have to do the job. And the efficiency in delivering the job would always be questioned. Of course, it will result to lack of no result. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've lost two people. So if you've just joined us, we're talking about how to protect your mental health at work, at school. Please share, comment, and invite your friends to watch and ask questions, because this is something we all go through in our student life, in our work time. So please just click, share, but also ask questions, because we've got some people here today who can actually answer your questions. Now, I see here we have Layla Jacob. She says, kindness is a language which can do wonders. Being a teacher, first of all, one should know how to be affectionate, passionate towards teaching is the main component. All those who are in teaching cannot claim as the mentor or well-wisher or the role model. Mental torturing is nothing less than physical torturing. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Yes. Now, just going back to the question, what are some of the workplace-related risk factors for mental health? Kamusiime, did you want to add some more insight? Anything you wanted to add?
Yes, thank you. I think it's important that you confirm if you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, as our colleagues have already stated, I want to add on that so many times there is always poor communication and management practices. So sometimes you find it stressing the way bosses and the employees get to communicate, and you find it is risking. For example, someone communicates in an email and goes off, and by the time you come, he's saying you didn't do this. So sometimes poor communication can bring you mental challenges. So also I can add on job security, because if you are insecure at the job, then you can find it disturbing, considering the fact that you also have to take good care of your family, care of your children, and it is very challenging. Maybe I found it very important that I also make a comment in relation to school, because I've been in school and we have dealt with some mental cases around. For example, having studied in a foreign country, you find it is challenging. You have it is a different culture. You are speaking a new language, and all you have to do is getting in the room, and you have to deal with it like that, or social media. And so often the way social media is coming up these days, it is you find it destructive. Sometimes the information you can bring in your life, you can find it's very stressing. So it is very important that those students who could be studying in far away from their homes, they keep their mental health by, for example, exercising and also meditation. It is very important. I do it so often. And also they can consider joining other groups, social groups, for example, going for friendly matches, and a cup of coffee wouldn't hurt while you are meditating. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another comment here by Matthew Gobler. He says, most youths, in order to avoid mental stress at school and workplace, maintain a healthy official distance from source of stress. Is this a good approach? Lawrence, did you want to tackle that?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Okay, so most youths, in order to avoid mental stress at school and workplace, maintain a healthy official distance from the source of stress. Is this a good approach?
I'm not sure if I hear the question properly.
Okay, can you actually see the question on the screen? It's on the screen. Can you see the question on the screen?
Just a minute, please. Not yet.
Okay, so I'll just repeat the question again. The comment. Most youth, in order to avoid mental stress at school and workplace, maintain a healthy official distance from source of stress. So is this a good approach?
Yeah, for sure, it is. It is. Trying as much as we can to avoid the source of the stress. Of course, it can. But also, I might also want to say this. It's difficult to disassociate yourself, especially in school, from the source of stress. What if the source of stress happens to be from the family, from your background, from where you're coming from? How are you going to do that, especially looking at the context in Africa? What if the source of the stress itself happens to be your teacher? How do you really disconnect, disassociate yourself from the source? So I believe disassociating yourself from the source is a good approach, but it has to be defined. Defined in the sense that you have to look at it in two ways. Is it what I can really move out away from, or is it something that is indispensable, something that I cannot run away from? If it is something that you cannot run away from, then you need a new approach. If it's something that you can run away from, then you can go away from that. But if it is something that you have to be confronting every day of your life, you cannot run away from it. Rather, you need to develop a new approach which can stand to help you in order to mitigate such situation. For example, if it is your teacher who happens to be the source of the stress, two things must happen. Is either you confront him with a careful words, explaining how his approach hurts you, and or you can go to the school management to be able to discuss what your issues are. If the solutions are not provided within the school, of course, what you need to do, you might need to involve your parents. I believe along the line, there would be a point wherein the both parties can come to understanding. For example, you can see some students being molested by their teacher. That is a source of stress. You cannot run away from it. You just need to deal with it. And dealing with it is confronting the person, getting the right authority to know about it, and moving on with it. I think these are few of my suggestions.
Thank you very much. We have another comment here by Chaplain David Mike. He says, there is a great need for the incorporation of professional chaplain services in schools at various levels to help students to deal with their emotional and spiritual struggles and crises. Also help them in developing good coping capacity and spiritual intelligence when facing difficult times. Majority of the problem the youth are passing through that leads to bad behavior is lack of a coping capacity. This has diddled in many, causing more havoc in human existence. Thank you, Chaplain Joy. Nigeria, thank you so much for that. Yes, so just moving on forward, we've got 3 more questions which we need to tackle before we finish our show today. So what interventions and good practices can we put in place to protect and promote mental health in the workplace? Edith, if you can hear me. Edith? Okay, I'm not sure. Marianne, would you like to tackle that? Because I don't know whether Edith can hear me.
Yep, and I'll try and make it short and sweet. But I think some interventions and good practices that we can put in place to promote and protect mental health at work would be things like we said before, well-being days.
Okay, just 1 second, because Marianne is actually speaking.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, some of the practices that we can put in place to promote mental health in the workplace include the employee assistance programs. Yeah, so employees can have that program where they can share their challenges, personal challenges, and also work-related challenges, and they can be helped by a mental health professional or a counselor. Then we can also have like relaxation places at the workplace where they can just take time off work and unwind. Also, free or subsidized mental health services for the employees, so that they can just access them freely, and it's there readily available for them. And also just being able to help employees speak, creating that culture where they understand and they talk about mental health freely without feeling stigmatized or judged. Yeah, so those are just some of the mental the mental practices that we can put place in the workplace. And also we have like mental wellness days where employees can take time off work and just go for self-care and take care of their mental health. And also like they can have improved access to mental health care. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption, Marianne. Do you want to continue your insight?
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
Katinda.
totally like flowing from Edith, what Edith was saying. I'll just add two things. The first one is well-being days. Yeah. So, and another thing that's very important is flexible working arrangements. So things like for mums and dads, people with kids that might need to pick up or drop off, it's okay to sort of work around the clock. For example, take a few hours here and then work later on. I think now a lot of places in the world are starting to adopt this method because they have to with the pandemic and everything that's going on. But it will be really good to sort of encourage that type of practice of flexible working arrangements because it will help with the mental health of a lot of workers as well in order to, try and meet conflicting demands of family life, work life, and their kids.
Thank you. Now, I'm not sure if Lawrence can hear me. Lawrence, if you can hear me, did you want to add to that?
Yes, please, I would. Thank you. One of the things I believe that would help is creating dispute and conflict resolution department. I can give you a clear example. In the Gambia, for example, most of the companies, organizations, they hardly have a place or department wherein people lodge their complaints. Of course, employees do lodge their complaints to their managers, to their superiors, but those complaints are not being treated. Those complaints are not being always being ignored. So if there are, for example, departments that are solely responsible for dispute and conflict resolution, wherein there are, for example, issues that has to do with the work related itself, that has resulted to the mental stress itself. You can find out most of the times employee or a supervisor is having a key challenge, a key dispute with his immediate or her immediate subordinate, and that becomes a grievance, and that grievance havocs in the heart, and it creates hatred, and that hatred continues in the mind and affects the way he or she performs. But if there is a department that can solve this issue, of course, then life continues. And also something like work flexibility. Some people also do have stress from home, and if they come to work, their work also is not flexible. If they have work flexibility where employees would also have, for example, couple of minutes, or let's say before lunch or after lunch, a place wherein they can relax for 30 minutes, calm their mind, perhaps do some meditation to helping them ease some of their mind, stops and the rest of that. That also can help. So looking at this from this perspective, I believe it can really play a great role. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So how can we support people with mental health disorders at work? Edith, would you like to tackle that one?
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so we can support people with mental health problems at the workplace by showing empathy, just being able to walk in their shoes. So we just understand where they're coming from. Also having an non-judgmental attitude. Yeah, and also non-discrimination. So we should treat people with mental health problems equally, just like the other person. Also addressing negative work dynamics. So if there is any negativity at the workplace, it's important that employers are able to address that, and also supporting confidential communication in case someone shares with you their struggles. It's important to support confidentiality, yeah, and also just helping them access a treatment. So if the treatment is there readily available for them, it's important because it can improve their mental health, and also providing necessary resources for them so that they can be able to work efficiently, and also just trusting them. You know, many times people think that people who have mental problems are not able to work productively. So just trusting them that they can be able to work at their workplace, and also just minding our language so that when we're speaking, we do not use stigmatizing language towards people with mental health problems. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Marianne, what would you like to add to that?
I think in order to do everything that Edith was just talking about, it's very hard to do without appropriate training. So we really need to encourage leaders to attend leadership training that's going to train them in things like empathy skills and all of this, because it's not something that's acquired for everybody. You know, some people have it naturally, but others really do need the training.
Thank you. And Lawrence, what would you like to add to that point? How can we support people with mental disorders at work?
Yeah, for me, I would say treat them with love and respect them. The more you treat them with love, the more respect you give them, the more that they are relaxed emotionally. You also need to engage and work with them all throughout the healing process. You know, there are certain times that people, what they need for healing process is just love and kindness. They just want to believe, they just want to see that they are being taken care of, that they're being cherished, that they're being loved, that they're being admired. So respecting them, of course, understanding the circumstances which they are into, don't use that as an advantage. Okay, trying to treat them with kindness would help them and would play a great role in relaxing the emotional crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a comment from Husseina. She says, we do judge ourselves affecting our own mental health, forgetting that it's okay to start small. It's okay not to have a grand dream. It's okay not to be able to do that yet. It's very okay not to be extraordinary. You don't need that to love yourself. But what you do need is, why do you matter? Thank you all to the amicable speakers. Thank you so much, Husseina, for that comment. Now, in the interest of time, we have one more question. What are some of the things a person can do to protect their mental health? Azaria, would you like to tackle that one?
So one thing I think you can do is do something you're good at. Just think about what you can do, or what makes you happy, or what you have been doing previously, and go on and do it. It is okay to talk about how you feel. It is okay to seek for help. So all these are very important. If you feel like if you recognize that you are undergoing depression, talk about it, share it with a friend whom you think you trust and can be there for you. So don't shy of seeking for help. It is very okay. And even when you become anxious, or if you develop anxiety, just know that it is very normal, and treat it like that. You don't have to feel abnormal.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I see here Lila Jacob saying, courtesy begets courtesy, respect begets respect, and the foundation of virtue is love. Yes, very true. Thank you so much. Marianne, did you have one thing you would like to add to that? What are some of the things a person can do to protect their mental health?
I would just say self-care. Be kind to yourself. Do things that will help you kind of unwind. And like one of the ladies that just commented before, look at it the other way around. So instead of looking at what I want to do, look at what a reverse bucket list. You know, what have I already done? and try and validate yourself, and, you know, practice some gratitude. That will really help with us engage in positive thinking.
Thank you. Edith, what's one thing you would like to add to that? Okay, I'm not sure. Edith, can you hear me? Okay. Not sure what's happening there. Okay. So gratitude is a good thing because, you know, I believe, you know, when you're grateful.
What I'd like
okay.
to say that,
Okay.
so it's important for people to take responsibility of their own mental health. Yes, I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm saying that
We can't hear you.
Katinda, can you hear me?
Now we can. Go ahead.
Okay, I was saying it's important that people take responsibility of their mental health. So, yeah, it's important for people to take responsibility of their mental health. So they need to take part in the employer-sponsored programs, and also just sharing their challenges with people that they trust. They can also practice coping skills, practice self-care, and just to value themselves and treat themselves with kindness and compassion. So not criticizing themselves and not being too hard on themselves. Also, they can maintain physical health. So just having a good sleep, having a good diet, and just taking care of the body by exercising. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, just before we conclude, I know there's so many ways to protect and manage your mental health and well-being. So what is one thing you do for yourself on a daily basis to check in with your mental health and soothe your soul? Azaria.
Oh, I do meditation. I
Okay, thank
do
you.
my mental exercising. That is all I do.
Thank you. What about you, Marianne?
I'm a talker. That's why I'm a psychologist. So I love talking, and I talk to my sister about my day, how it's been, yeah, and everything I had that day, and it helps me debrief.
Thank you. Edith, what's something you do every day to soothe your soul and to check in with your mental health and well-being? Okay. Edith, I don't know whether you can hear us, so there's a delay there.
Yeah, it's a delay.
Okay, we don't have much time, so you can find more information about the Global Youth.
Thank you very much. I do meditation and prayer and just being mindful, being in the present moment. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So you can find more information on the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness by visiting our website, www.globalyouthmentalhealthawareness.org.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Oh, you can actually email jude@gymha.org. And just before we go, where can people find you, Marianne? Are you on Facebook, LinkedIn? Where are you?
I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. And if you want to find me on LinkedIn, it's going to be the same name as here, Maryam Elyas. Otherwise, that's on LinkedIn. On Facebook, I'm Maryam Mata. So yeah.
Okay, so what I will suggest is after the show, type that on the Facebook comments so people can find that information as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have a comment here before we go. Hilary Joy Ogimudia, he says psychoeducation has improved to be a very effective first step approach to institutional, school, and workplace mental health and well-being strategy, educating students and staff on what mental health and well-being really is. That way, colleagues and fellow students can begin to practice empathy and non-judgmental listening. Most people in the society are either totally unaware of what mental health and well-being is about, or totally have a misconstrued ideas on the topic. That is so, so true. Thank you so much, Hilary, for that. So Judith, Edith, where can people find you? Is it LinkedIn, Facebook? Okay. Lawrence, where can people find you? Are you on LinkedIn, Facebook? Okay, I'm not sure if they can all hear us. There's actually a problem there. So thank you so much, Edith, Marianne, Lawrence, Kamusiime, for sharing your insights on how to protect your mental health at work and school. I want to thank you, viewers, for being a fabulous audience and for watching the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness Show. At this stage, we don't have our next fortnight's topic, but that will be posted up on the Facebook page. So stay tuned. And until next time, thank you, everyone. May you all experience the frequencies of love and light. Stay safe and stay blessed. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
See ya.